Chosen one, right now, someone has just been hit by a truth so heavy it knocked the air clean out of them. They are sitting in the wreckage of their own choices because it finally hit someone that they were supposed to join you in victory, but they let it slip by. This was not a slow realization, but a violent collision with reality. You moved forward while they stalled, and now they must face the breathtaking weight of the victory they declined. This was not just another person passing through. Something about the connection felt initiated, like a chapter was opening, rather than a footnote being added. Something in you recognized that what was standing in front of you carried weight and genuine meaning, and you showed up for it. That is what chosen ones do. They feel the gravity of a moment, and they match it. They bring the real version of themselves, the full gift, the unedited vision, the genuine investment. You were not performing for this person. You were not managing your energy with one foot already pointed toward the exit. You were completely, authentically, fully in, and for a season, the connection reflected that back to you. You could see the destination. You could see what this was being designed to become. You saw a version of shared victory so clear and so specific that it felt less like a hope and more like a blueprint. It was the kind of blueprint where your particular gifts and the other person's particular strengths locked together the way two pieces lock when they were cut for exactly each other. You saw it in the moments of real alignment, in the conversations where the vision came alive, in the seasons where it genuinely felt like the plan was moving the way it was supposed to move. That vision was not delusion, it was prophetic. It was showing you something that was genuinely available, and the fact that it did not come to pass the way it was designed to does not mean the vision was wrong. It means the execution got intercepted on one side. The person on the other side of that blueprint made choices that pulled them out of the building process, but the blueprint itself was real, and you carry the proof of that in every single thing you have built since the season ended. The entire time you were looking at the destination, the other person was measuring the distance. You were focused on what was possible. They were calculating what it would cost them to get there. Two entirely different internal conversations were running at the same time, and you did not fully know it yet. But the gap between those two conversations was already writing the rest of the story. You started noticing it as a feeling before you could name it. There was a low-frequency signal in your instincts telling you that something was not adding up. The energy felt slightly off. The commitment felt slightly inconsistent. There were moments of magnificent alignment followed by moments of inexplicable distance. Present, then gone. Warm, then cold. Invested, then suddenly unavailable. You did what most chosen ones do when they genuinely care about something. You extended grace. You had the conversations, you raised the concern, accepted the explanation, and kept showing up because you believed in the potential of what this was supposed to be. You were not willing to walk away from something real, over something you could not yet fully prove. Every single time your light got brighter, every time your gift showed up clearly, every time the full scale of what you were carrying became visible, something shifted on the other end, a wall went up, a test got deployed, a game began, and it did not happen because your value was invisible to this person. It happened because your value was very visible. Your level was holding a mirror up to their own unfinished work. Standing next to you meant being held accountable to a standard that their current self was not prepared to meet. And rather than rising to meet that standard, the other person tried to manage the situation. They tried to hold the connection open without paying the full cost of being in it. They made themselves just present enough to keep you engaged, and just distant enough to avoid being held to the standard that your presence naturally required. You were not building in spite of the games. You were building around them. You were constantly rerouting your energy to compensate for instability that was being manufactured deliberately. You were spending capacity that should have gone toward the vision on managing turbulence that had no legitimate reason to exist. and you did not fully understand how much of your capacity that was consuming until the season ended, the friction disappeared, and you discovered how fast you could actually move when nothing was deliberately creating drag. That discovery, that clarifying specific revelation that comes after a season like this one, is one of the most important things you will carry forward from this, because it tells you exactly what your velocity looks like when the interference is gone, and it tells you that the victory you have built since that season is not simply the victory that was supposed to happen. It is the version that got bigger, bolder, and more undeniable, because the right person finally stopped standing in the way of it. You gave access to your vision, not the polished, managed version of it, the real one, the unfiltered version of how you see what is possible, the kind of vision that makes people feel like they are standing at the edge of something extraordinary just by being near you. You shared that openly. You let this person inside the blueprint. You showed them what you were building, and you invited them to be part of it. You gave access to your loyalty, the specific, deep, chosen one brand of loyalty that does not waver when circumstances get difficult, that doubles down when the outside world grows skeptical, and that is genuinely rare and genuinely difficult to find again once it has been walked away from. You gave access to your gifts, whatever your specific configuration is, creative, entrepreneurial, relational, intellectual. The full expression of what you were designed to do was available to this person in a way that was amplified by partnership, pointed toward a shared destination, and capable of producing something they would have pointed back to for the rest of their life, as the thing that changed everything. If you felt the truth in these words, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can see it. And beyond all of that, and this is the piece sitting the heaviest on them right now, they had access to what the two of you were supposed to build together, not separately, together. Because there are things that only get constructed by specific combinations. There are visions that only become real when particular people align. There are levels that only unlock when the right partnership occupies the space. What you and this person had the potential to build together was not simply the sum of two people's individual efforts. It was a multiplication. It was the kind of collaboration that people point at when they need an example of what it looks like when two people who are both built for greatness refuse to waste what they have been given. You were supposed to be that example, the proof of concept, the partnership that shows what is possible when two chosen people fully choose each other, without games, without ego running the show, without one person quietly managing the other back into a smallness that keeps them comfortable. The other person had every piece of that in their hands. They squeezed too tight and then loosened their grip. They treated something precious like it was guaranteed to stay, and it slipped. Every piece of it slipped, and now that it is gone, the full count of what slipped is available to them with a clarity that no distraction can interrupt. That is the inventory. That is the weight. That is what is producing a breakdown in someone's life right now. There was a specific, real, unrepeatable moment when the window closed, when the version of the future that included the other person as a full and genuine participant sealed itself off. It did not close gradually. Real closings never do. They do not happen in a slow fade, but in a single final breath, one last moment where the choice was still available, and then it simply was not anymore. Some of you know exactly when that moment was. You felt it in real time. Something in your body recognized it before your mind had the language for it. You understood that whatever this was going to be had just decided what it was not going to be, and you held that moment. You sat inside it, and then you did the most powerful thing a chosen one can do in a moment like that. You kept moving. You did not wait at the gate indefinitely. You did not extend the boarding window past the point that your own integrity would allow. You picked up everything you were carrying, and you walked forward. And I know it did not feel powerful in that moment. I know it felt like something breaking rather than something building. But that single step forward, taken without a co-pilot, without the partnership you expected to have beside you on the journey, That step was the very first movement of everything that was about to be built. Because here is what happens the moment dead weight releases from something that was engineered to fly. It rises, not slowly, immediately, the way a ship accelerates the moment the anchor is pulled from the ocean floor, the way a fire climbs the moment you remove the thing that was smothering it. You began to move at the speed you were always capable of, but that you could never fully access while your energy was being constantly redirected into managing someone who was not moving alongside you, and the person who chose not to board. They watched that acceleration happen in real time. They were standing right there when the flight departed. They felt the shift in the air, and the plane left without them. It is not simply that the plane flew, it is where the plane landed. The victory is not hidden away in some private corner where the other person could choose not to look at it. The destination is visible, the win is tangible, the level you were always supposed to reach got reached, and the evidence is out in the world, accessible, real, and undeniable. Every time that evidence shows up, it delivers the same confirmation the other person can no longer argue against. The potential was real, the destination was real, the victory happened, and they are not in the room where it happened because they chose not to be. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action, and real chosen ones are also paying attention. You've noticed it. Chosen one channels getting silenced, videos pulled, voices removed from the platform. The mainstream media is cracking down on us, but we will not give up our voice, and neither should you. That's why joining Destiny Engine is a 360 win. You support your favorite channels and fuel your own rise at the same time. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. The other person tried to replace what they had with you. Of course they did. The ego does not immediately accept that something irreplaceable has walked out of its life. The instinct is to reach for the workaround, the substitution, the version that is close enough. So the other person went looking for a similar energy, a similar vision, a similar level of potential in a different arrangement. They told themselves the story of someone who simply needed to find the right dynamic at a different address. But that story did not hold. Because what you carry is not a formula that produces consistent results when you swap out the variables. What you carry is specific to you. It is the particular, unrepeatable combination of your gifts, your calling, your history, and your vision. There is no copy of that available elsewhere. And the other person found that out the hard way, by searching, coming up empty, searching again, and coming up empty again, until the silence after the last failed attempt made the truth fully unavoidable, the truth that said there was only one. Before, when the other person was operating inside your orbit, connected to what you were building, near someone running at full capacity, there was a forward momentum to their life. There was a sense of direction, a feeling of what was genuinely possible. They may not have named it at the time. They may have taken the warmth of your proximity for granted, the way anyone takes warmth for granted, until the moment they step outside and feel the cold for the first time. But now they feel the contrast, every single day. The difference between what their life felt like inside your orbit and what it feels like outside of it is no longer something they can theorize about. It is the daily reality they wake up inside of. and that reality is delivering the most honest education they have ever received, one that no comfort, distraction, or new connection has been able to override. This is the center of the center. This is the specific realization that broke through whatever walls had been built to keep it out. It finally hit them what you were actually meant to be in their life, not what they made you out to be, not the managed, reduced, contained version of you that fit inside the comfortable boundaries they set, what you were genuinely designed to be, the full assignment, the actual purpose that your presence in their story was always pointing toward. You were supposed to be their flight, not a pit stop, not a resource to draw from when it felt convenient. You were meant to be the actual vehicle of their elevation, the specific person whose combination of gifts, calling, vision, and energy was designed to create the conditions for a life operating at a level it simply could not reach on its own. You were supposed to be the example, the proof, the partnership that made both people look like exactly what they were always capable of being. And the reckoning inside the reckoning is this. It is not just that they finally understand what they were supposed to have. It is that they watched you build the achievement without them. They watched you reach the altitude that was always meant to be reached, just without them in the seat that had their name on it. Every piece of what you have created, every level you have accessed, every visible confirmation of the vision they got a preview of during your shared season, all of it is out there. And all of it says the same thing, louder every time they encounter it. The victory was real, it happened, and you are not in it because you chose not to be. That is a verdict, chosen one, not a feeling, a verdict, and somebody is living inside it right now. You have probably carried a quiet question somewhere in the back of your mind, a gracious, private question you may have never said out loud, whether the vision was real, whether the potential you saw was something genuine or something you constructed out of your own hope. Let the weight of their reckoning answer that question permanently. People do not end up at rock bottom over things that were never real. The magnitude of what they are currently carrying is exactly proportional to the value of what they chose not to honor when they had it. That weight is significant, which means what you were carrying was significant, and what you are still carrying into every next chapter is significant. Own that truth. You have more than earned it. We have spent enough time in the reality of the reckoning. You needed to see it clearly, and now you have. But you do not live in someone else's consequence. That is not your address, and we are not parking there any longer. Chosen one, you do not have their problem. You are not the one at rock bottom. You are not the one whose mind is spinning on a loop. It cannot escape. You are not the one staring at the pieces of choices that cannot be undone and trying to figure out how to build something with what remains. That is their assignment right now, not yours. Your reality is this. You are the plane, and the plane is already in the air. The turbulence of that season is behind you. The gate where someone failed to show up is behind you. The runway where you had to decide whether to keep waiting or start moving, all of it is behind you. What is in front of you is open sky and a destination that was written specifically for you before this chapter ever opened. Now let me say plainly what most people are too polite to say. You won, not in a petty way, not in a keeping score way, in the real way, in the way that actually counts when the story is told honestly. You walked into that season with everything you were built with. You gave the partnership every genuine opportunity to become what it was supposed to be, and when it became clear that the person on the other side was not going to honor what was being offered, you made the decision that only chosen ones make. You did not lower your standard to match someone else's limited capacity. You kept your standard, you kept your integrity, and you kept moving forward. Most people facing that kind of sustained inconsistency from someone they genuinely invested in make one of two choices. They collapse into the disappointment and stop building altogether, or they shrink themselves down to salvage the connection at the expense of the vision. You did neither. You held your standard, you let the partnership that could not meet it fall away, and you built the victory anyway. Without a co-pilot, without the support structure you expected, you built with what you had, and what you had was you, and you, chosen one, have always been more than enough to get it done. Own the win, not loudly, not pointed in the direction of someone who is now sitting in their consequence, but internally, fully, completely, without apology. Own the win. Every piece of the victory that exists right now belongs to you. You earned it not just through the work, but through the decision to refuse to become smaller. That decision is the foundation everything else was built on. I need to address something that lives quietly in the back of your mind even now, even with the forward motion, even with the win firmly in hand. There is still a small, persistent voice that occasionally asks whether the season was wasted, whether the energy you gave to something that did not produce its intended outcome was energy that simply went nowhere. Here is the answer with no softening. It counted for everything, not because the outcome was what it was supposed to be. It was not. Not because the partnership became what it was designed to become. It did not. But because nothing a chosen one walks through is wasted in the economy of purpose. Every hard thing that season forged in you was not subtraction, it was construction. You came out of that season knowing yourself at a depth you could not have reached without it. You know your worth now in a register that is not dependent on someone else's recognition or validation of it. You understand what your presence actually produces in another person's life because you watched what happened when someone failed to value it, and the contrast became undeniable. You did not collapse under that. You did not grow bitter. You did not close yourself off from the genuine possibility of something real. You stood up and kept walking. A person who can do that after a season of that weight knows who they are at a level that no comfortable season could ever produce. The fire of that season burned away every accommodation that was never authentically yours to carry. It burned away the versions of yourself you had been quietly shrinking into to keep the peace. It burned away the expectations you had lowered to match someone else's comfort level. What is standing now is the actual version of you, the full-sized, full-gifted, full-purposed version, and that version is a force. When the right people encounter it, they will know exactly what they are standing in the presence of. And unlike the person who watched the flight leave without boarding it, the right people will not waste the moment they have been given. When someone experiences the kind of reckoning we have been describing, when the truth lands that hard and that completely, their instinct is to try to fix the consequence. And fixing it, in their mind, means finding a way back to you. A message surfaces. A call gets made. Some version of communication arrives that is designed to reopen what was closed. It carries words like these: I finally see what I had. I understand now what I lost. I am different. I want another chance. Your generous heart is going to feel the pull of that. It is going to remember what was real in that season. It is going to want to respond to genuine pain with the compassion that is in your nature, because that is how a chosen one loves fully and without holding back. But here is the distinction you must hold on to protect everything you have built. A reckoning is not the same thing as transformation. A breakdown is the arrival of understanding. But understanding alone does not dismantle the patterns, the fears and the resistance to genuine growth that drove the original choices. Dismantling those things requires real, sustained, unglamorous inner work, work that cannot be demonstrated in a message, that cannot be proven in a conversation, and that can only be shown over time through consistently changed behavior. Whether that work is actually happening, as opposed to whether the pain of consequence is simply searching for the fastest available exit, that is a question only time and visible action can answer. You are not obligated to become the shortcut out of someone else's reckoning. You are not the relief valve designed to release the pressure of consequence before it has had enough time to produce the change it was meant to produce. You are a destination, and destinations do not reverse direction to retrieve passengers who chose not to board when the flight was ready. The flight left, the journey continued. The victory that has been built since that departure belongs entirely to the direction you chose to keep moving in forward. Let the other person do the work that their reckoning is demanding of them, genuinely wish them the healing they need, and then turn your face back toward what is ahead of you, because backward is simply not on the map of where you are going. The seat on this flight does not stay empty. There are people who are moving toward you right now. People whose gifts, calling, and energy are genuinely calibrated to the altitude you operate at. Not as replacements, that word misses the point entirely, as what was always supposed to be there. People who, when they encounter what you are building, will not feel threatened by it. They will feel called by it. The right partner is coming. The one who sees the vision and says without any hesitation, "I am not missing that." The one who shows up already ready, already prepared to match your energy, rather than quietly manage it down. The one whose gifts align with yours in a way that creates something neither of you could produce in isolation. The one who does not need to be chased, convinced, or indefinitely waited on, who simply arrives, who stays committed, who chooses you every day, not because there are no other options, but because they fully understand what they are holding. And here is the specific difference you are going to feel when the right people arrive. You will not need to perform your gifts to prove that they are real. You will not need to shrink the volume of your vision to avoid making someone uncomfortable. The right people will show up already oriented toward what you are building. Their first response to your vision will not be fear or resistance. It will be fire. It will be the energy of someone who genuinely wants to know where they fit, what you need, and what you are going to build together. Someone who arrives asking what they can contribute, rather than calculating what they can extract. That is the energy of genuine alignment, and you will recognize it immediately, not because it is loud, but because it is clean, because it carries no hidden agenda, because it feels nothing at all like what you walked through before. The victory you build with those people, the actual shared victory, the partnership finally operating the way the original blueprint always said it should, that is going to be the version of the story that makes every previous chapter make complete sense. You are walking into that next level carrying a precision about what real partnership feels like that can only come from having lived through the full contrast. You know what it costs to be near someone operating from fear. You know what it feels like to stand beside someone operating from real alignment, and that discernment is not a minor advantage. It is the thing that makes every future investment of your energy one of the best decisions you will ever make. The plane was never waiting for that person to authorize its departure. You were never grounded until someone else decided you were worth boarding. Your rising was never contingent on their willingness to rise with you. What they actually had the power to do was delay their own elevation. The only flight they were ever capable of grounding was their own. Your flight was always going to depart. Your assignment was never up for debate. Your gifts were never subject to someone else's approval before they could operate. Your victory was never sitting in a waiting room needing a permission slip from a person who was afraid of what your altitude would reveal about their own unfinished work. Purpose does not design chosen ones to be permanently held at ground level by ordinary fear. Purpose designs chosen ones to rise, and rise is exactly what you did. So here is where you are right now. You are in the air. You are at altitude. You are moving toward everything that was prepared for you before this chapter opened, before the season got complicated, before the person who could not match your level ever entered your story. The destination ahead of you is real. The momentum you are carrying is real. The victory that is still ahead, the part that has not even fully revealed itself yet, is more extraordinary than anything you thought you were losing when that season finally closed. And somewhere, standing at the gate, a person is only now beginning to understand the full weight of what it means to have watched you fly. They finally see it. What you were, what you are, what they were supposed to join, what they allowed to slip right through the very hands they used to play games instead of build something lasting. Let them sit with that understanding. Let the reckoning do what reckonings are designed to do. Let it produce whatever it needs to produce in their life. You carry no bitterness toward that process, and you hold no celebration of their pain. You are a chosen one, and chosen ones are too busy ascending to look back at the gate. But you do know the truth. You know what you carry. You know what you are worth. You know that what was on the table in that season was rare, real, and specific. You know that the right people who are coming toward you will know it too, and they will not make the mistake of treating something extraordinary as though it is ordinary. The plane never needed them to fly. It needed you. It needed your willingness to stay on board when everything felt uncertain. It needed your refusal to land early just because someone else lost the nerve to fly alongside you. It needed the decision you made again and again in the hard moments of that season to keep the engines running, to trust the altitude, to stay pointed toward the destination even when you could not yet see it clearly. You made that decision. Every single time it was required of you, you made it. And the sky you are flying through right now is the direct result of that faithfulness. Look at how far behind you the gate is now. Look at the altitude you are carrying. Look at the open sky ahead of you. No ceiling, no artificial limit, no manufactured turbulence from someone who could not keep pace with where you were always designed to go. That sky belongs to you. That destination belongs to you. That victory, the one you are still building, still ascending toward, still becoming, belongs to you completely. Go claim every inch of it, without apology, without hesitation, without a single backward glance toward the gate where someone finally understood, too late, that they were supposed to be standing right beside you in this. The flight is yours, the altitude is yours, the win has your name written all the way through it.